If you're looking for a bit of extra travel for your 2012 to 2018 Ram 1500's front suspension, then this extended travel CV axle will be for you. Whether you just want extra flexibility for off-roading or you've got a big lift on your truck, this will give you a refreshed OEM-style axle with all new joints and boots, but it's also going to give you a little bit of extra wiggle room. The dark side of lift kits that nobody really wants to talk about is that extra height adds extra stress to your suspension and driveline, especially your front axles. More height means more angle for your CV joints, and these are just not meant to run at an angle like that all the time, so it can cause premature wear. Now that same thing can happen if you're taking your truck off the beaten path a lot and working those axles hard, even if you don't have a lift. The solution to this problem is a longer axle that will provide you with more travel, and that's exactly what we've got here. This will work on your truck anywhere from stock height up to 4 inches of lift, so even if you haven't lifted your truck yet, this will work for you. Now this is going to be similar to your stock axle, but there are a few key differences. And the main difference is the bearing-driven plunging center bar design. So this has more movement on both the wheel and differential side of the axle. There are high-speed 8 ball joints on both sides, giving you up to 47 degrees of motion, which is quite a bit more than your standard axle. Now that translates to additional articulation and movement in the suspension to account for that additional height or whatever terrain you might be encountering. This is going to fit right in place of your factory original axle, so you don't need to do any additional modifications to your truck to get it fitted either. Now these axles are sold individually, as you might have gathered, since I only have one up here on the table. And this is definitely something you want to do on both sides at the same time, so make sure you're grabbing 2 when you put this in your cart. The design again is similar to your OEM axles, just beefed up a bit. You get those uprated high-speed 8 ball joints and the bearing-driven plunging center design that we were talking about, as well as heavy-duty boot clamps to keep everything in place. Now everything is packed in with high-temperature resistant grease for additional friction resistance as well. Pricing comes in at about $275 per axle. And again, these are sold separately, so make sure you're getting 2 when you buy them. The price point here makes this a more premium option within the market, but if you're looking for the additional flexibility and peace of mind that an extended axle can provide, this is definitely worth the price of entry. Installation gets a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and the job should take you around 3 hours to complete. Now that is 3 hours per side. Again, plan on this taking you quite a bit of time. Now this is a totally bolt-on installation again that will not require you to make any other modifications in order to get it fitted. So while there is a lot of disassembly required, it is a pretty straightforward process. We're going to walk you through the install step by step right now, so for that, let's head on out to the shop.
For this install, you need a pry bar, a 3/8 and 1/2 inch impact, a hammer, cloth, mallet, caliper hanging tool, clip removal tool, 36, 24, and 21 millimeter socket, a 15/16, 21, and 12 millimeter wrench, and also not shown be a lift and a vise. All right, today we're gonna be installing an axle on our Ram, so let's get started. So we're gonna need to take our whole knuckle off, so we're gonna start by taking our caliper and then rotor off. So we're gonna go in the back, get our impact and 21 millimeter socket, and take our 2 caliper bolts out. Out, just rock it off of your rotor, grab a caliper hanging tool, you just hang that up on the side over here. Pop that line off, and we can also just pop our rotor off now. Next, we're going to disconnect our ABS sensor. So you could just take it out of the wheel hub here, but a lot of times it doesn't like to come out. Easy way to do it, just get your connector that is behind here, release the red locking tab, disconnect that. Now it should be held on with a push clip right here. Should grab a clip removal tool and pop that off. You can see ours is damaged, but no big deal. You just let that dangle. Then we're gonna take our wheel axle nut off next. Grab your 1/2 inch impact and a 36 millimeter socket and take this nut off. Next, come over to your tie rod. We're gonna get our nut off, so grab your impact and 21 millimeter socket. Now that is already loose, as you can see. If you need to, grab a hammer right there on the knuckle, and that will release that. Now I'm gonna put our tie rod back in just to hold this in place for moving around. Grab our 21 millimeter wrench, or ratcheting wrench in our case, and take this nut off for the upper ball joint. And we're gonna get that pretty loose. do the same thing, grab a hammer, just hit right here. I'll loosen that up. We can take our nut off the rest of the way. Be able to get that out of our knuckle. Last thing we need to take off here for the knuckle is our bottom ball joint. So at the bottom here, we're gonna grab our impact and 24mm socket and take this nut off. So we're gonna do the same thing we did the upper. We're gonna loosen it. We're gonna tap this with a hammer just to break that free. Now we're gonna take the nut off completely. Now we're gonna take our nut off the rest of the way, and we should be able to slide our knuckle off of our axle. We're gonna come underneath the axle and grab a pry bar with a strike point. You can hit with a hammer. Just go right here and just tap that out. You can see that brought the intermediate shaft with it. So now we can just take our axle completely out. Now we can just remove our whole axle shaft here. Now since our intermediate shaft came out with our axle, we just need to get that out. As you can see, I just have a towel wrapped around the splines so that we don't damage them. It's just tight enough in our vise so it's not gonna go anywhere. We're gonna grab our hammer and a pry bar, just smack on the end of our axle here to release it from the axle. Once we get that off, we can now swap this over to our new axle. Now we're gonna get our intermediate shaft and we're gonna line it up in our splines in our front diff here. Once you have that lined up, we're gonna grab a mallet and just tap that in place. And once that's seated, we can go do the same thing with our new axle. Grab your new axle, we'll get the splines lined up, and we can grab our mallet and just tap that into place. And once that's seated, we can just let that rest down here on our lower control arm. Now we're gonna get our knuckle on. It's gonna go on the axle and the lower ball joint at the same time. Just take your time to line everything up. All right, after messing around for a little bit, just getting it in the right spot, I'm gonna line up the ball joint and the axle. We can get our nut for our lower ball joint, thread that on so it doesn't fall off. And our axle nut, thread that on too. So we'll get our knuckle back and get our upper control arm in. Also at that same time, we'll put our tie rod in and just thread both of those nuts on. Then we can go ahead and start tightening everything down. So we'll start at the bottom here on our bottom ball joint. Grab your impact and 24mm socket, tighten that down. So since that started spinning, we're gonna grab our 15/16 wrench and 12mm wrench and tighten that down. Grab your impact and 21mm socket and we'll tighten down our tie rod nut. Then while we're here, we'll tighten down our axle nut, grab your impact and 36mm socket. Now we'll come to our upper ball joint. Now if you need to, grab your pry bar, just pry down that, just give enough tension so it doesn't spin. And we'll grab our 21mm ratcheting wrench to tighten that down. Now we'll reconnect our ABS harness. Find your connector, secure it on your red locking tab, tuck that back up. Now remember you have a push clip here, ours is broken. And then we'll get our rotor and caliper on and then secure this to our brake line. Next we can get our rotor back on. I'm just gonna grab a lug nut just to help hold that against the hub. See, it won't move. Grab our caliper off of our caliper hanger and get that in place so we can get our two bolts back in. Start them by hand, then I'll grab our impact and 21mm socket and tighten them down. We just have our ABS line to our brake line. And once you have this side all secured, you can go ahead and repeat all those same steps on the other side of the truck. And that wraps up our install of our extended travel CV axles for the front of our 2012 to 2018 Ram 1500. And remember, for everything Ram, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.